Okay, let's get into this. We are diving headfirst into Iceland, a landscape where geography isn't, just rock and ice. It's mythology.
It really is.
And today's deep dive is tailored for you. We're looking at a stack of sources that explore how the island's brutal, beautiful environment is, well, fundamentally shaped by the creatures that supposedly inhabit it.
Our focus is on that profound connection Icelanders have with their environment. The source material, it covers these really comprehensive guides to mythical creatures and a geological exploration of Kleifarvatn Lake.
Right.
And these stories, they're more than just tales, they're almost a functional map. They blend ancient pagan beliefs with really practical rules for survival in a harsh, volatile land.
Exactly. This isn't just about preserving old legends. It's about understanding a national psyche that kind of accepts the physical world and the supernatural world as sharing the same space. I mean, we're talking about a place where, to this day, powerful, strange forces influence modern decisions, even huge infrastructure projects.
And that's the core insight here, that idea of unseen neighbors. For centuries, Icelanders have structured their lives around the possibility that they coexist with creatures far more powerful than themselves.
From the great protective land whites, who we'll definitely get to later.
All the way to the famous hidden people.
Okay, let's start with those neighbors then. The Holdufolk, or the hidden people. The sources we looked at note that this term is often used interchangeably with Alfar, which is the older term for elves.
Right, but the distinction is subtle and it's important. I mean, we are not talking about garden gnomes or little sprites here.
Not at all.
We are talking about what's described as a parallel human society. They're said to be exceptionally beautiful, often taller than humans, and possessing, significant hidden wealth.
And their lives mirror ours almost exactly. They raise livestock, they fish.
They pick berries, and maybe the most striking detail, some are even said to attend church on Sundays.
And the crucial part is where they live. Not in some other dimension, but in the environment itself, in the rock formations, the cliffs, the low hills.
That's where it gets complicated. That's where the human interactions, which are always tricky, come into play.
They can be incredibly kind, right? There are stories of them gifting valuable things.
Oh, absolutely. There's a wonderful anecdote from Vopnafjordur about an elf woman who supposedly gifted a magnificent gold-woven altar cloth to a human woman who helped her deliver a child. That clock is now preserved in the National Museum. They reward good deeds, and they reward them handsomely.
But that generosity is completely outweighed by their fierce territoriality.
Completely. If a human disrupts their home, say a farmer builds too close to their rock, or a fisherman nets their area, the revenge is swift and terrifying.
Leading to things like bodily harm, theft, even death. This is why the stories have teeth. Why they persist.
And that persistence is what brings us to, of all things, modern construction. That cultural imperative to respect these boundaries, it still holds incredible weight.
Okay, so let's drill down on the most famous example. Alfhol, the Elf Hill, in Kópavogur. We hear the simple version that the road was just curved, but the reality is much more dramatic.
It is. The hill sits right in the path of a major planned road, and attempts to build through it go back to the 1940s.
The 40s?
Yeah. The first project attempt mysteriously ran out of funding. It was delayed for decades. Then, when they came back to it in the 80s and 90s, the failures became almost supernatural. Heavy excavation equipment just broke down repeatedly.
There's no mechanical explanation, right? I read that during one of the pushes in the 90s, they brought in these high-powered drills, the kind designed to penetrate the toughest basalt rock. And those drills allegedly snapped. They just broke apart without leaving a single scratch on Alfhol itself.
Exactly. I mean, you can buy new equipment, but at some point, you have to accept that the rock might just be winning the argument.
So after that third major failure, they finally just curved the road.
They did. It's now a recognized and protected site. The cost and disruption of challenging that one single piece of rock just became untenable.
Which brings us to that core question international media always seems to get wrong. Belief. We hear the headline, Icelanders believe in elves, but it's a massive simplification.
It's a huge oversimplification. It's not a literal belief system for the vast majority. It functions more as a cultural superstition, but one that encourages a deep respect for the land.
So less I believe in the elf and more I respect the potential consequences of messing with this rock.
Precisely. It's pragmatic caution dressed up in folklore. In places like the Kleifarvatn lava field, parents might tell their kids that angry Huldafolk live in the cracks.
Not because they're worried about a magical attack.
No, but because the lava formations are genuinely dangerous, they're full of unstable ground and deep hidden fissures, the story keeps the children away from very real physical harm. It's a survival mechanism encoded right into the culture.
And that rigidity, that respect for the powerful forces of nature, that takes us to the trolls. The Trollio. If the hidden people are the neighbors, the trolls are the clumsy, dangerous giants.
Yeah, they're usually defined by three things: their size, their incredible greed, and their overwhelming stupidity. But the key trait, the thing that makes them part of the landscape, is their weakness to the sun.
Turning to stone. If they're caught in daylight, they're petrified. And that specific weakness connects them directly to Iceland's dramatic coastlines. It's a perfect mechanism to explain these bizarre geological anomalies.
The most famous example, the one every visitor to Iceland sees, is the Reynistrangar sea stacks off Reynistjara black sand beach.
Right.
Legend says these massive basalt columns are the remains of trolls. They were trying to drag a three-masted ship to shore, got too greedy with the loot, misjudged the time.
And bam, the sun comes up and they're frozen forever.
There's another version, too, a darker one about a husband getting revenge on trolls who murdered his wife by luring them out at dawn.
Either way, the message is the same. The consequences of not respecting the natural cycle of day and night are absolute. Permanent petrification.
And if trolls weren't terrifying enough, we have to talk about the ghost traditions.
These aren't your typical wispy, non-corporeal ghosts. Icelandic revenants are physical, they're malevolent, and they are very hard to escape.
And you have two major categories here, which is important to clarify. You have the uppvakningar,
which is basically a reanimated corpse, a zombie, often created by magic.
Exactly. And then you have the afterganga, which is the revenge ghost, a spirit that returns specifically to torment the living, often a relative or a former lover.
The sources give us an absolutely horrifying example of the uppvakningar, the monstrous Horger's Boli bull from North Iceland. The story of how this thing was made is just unreal.
It's truly formidable. This wasn't a natural animal. It was created through black magic as revenge for a rejected marriage proposal.
Of course it was.
The sorcerer combined body parts from a flayed calf, a dog, a man, an infant, a cat, a mouse, a bird, and even air. Then he bound the whole thing together with elements from two sea monsters.
That's not a bull, that's a terrifying elemental weapon. The sheer detail in that shows you the complexity of the magical traditions.
And for the Efterganga, the revenge ghost. The story that chills every Eyster is the Deacon of Merca River.
A classic. A fiancé returning from the dead to claim his betrothed, Gurun.
And it's famous because of that moment of realization. Gurun suspected something was wrong because when the ghost spoke her name, he couldn't manage the syllable gu, the word for God.
He called her Gurun instead.
Exactly. And when she finally realizes the full horror, she looks down and sees the white patch of his exposed skull at the back of his head where he'd been injured.
And in that instant, he tries to pull her into his open grave.
A desperate attempt to drag her into the earth with him. It's folklore designed to instill a very healthy fear of the dead.
Intense. Okay, those stories of the land and its inhabitants, they set the mood perfectly as we shift to a specific volatile location where all of this comes together, Kleifarvatn Lake.
Kleifarvatn is the perfect nexus point because of its geology. It's the largest lake on the Reykjanes Peninsula, and it sits directly on the fissure zone of the mid-Atlantic ridge.
So you could literally stand on its shore and know that the North American and Eurasian plates are pulling apart right beneath the water.
Constantly. And what makes it truly strange is its hydrology. Most lakes have rivers flowing in or out. Kleifarvatn is fed and drained purely by subterranean means.
So water moves through porous lava tubes and cracks deep underground. It's completely self-contained, but linked intimately to all that seismic activity.
And that internal plumbing system proved just how vulnerable it was back in the year 2000. The seismic events that June caused a massive geological transformation.
The Great Draining. The earthquakes were big enough to tear open new, huge fissures in the lake bed. It was like pulling the plug on a bathtub.
A gigantic bathtub. Approximately 20% of the lake's surface area just vanished. The shoreline receded, exposing this surreal, muddy landscape. It was a global scientific event.
It showed just how quickly seismic shifts can fundamentally alter an entire landscape.
And naturally, when the land gives up its secrets like that, it inspires fiction. Arnold der Indriasen's crime novel, The Draining Lake.
Oh, right.
It famously used that event as a plot device. The receding waters uncover a body that had been hidden there for decades. The volatility of the Earth itself becomes the ultimate detective.
That dark, still unpredictable environment is the ideal setting for the monsters of the watery abyss.
Who embodies the danger of the deep. The primary legend is similar to the Lagarfell jotworm in the east. The Kleifarvatn monster, a whale-like worm-shaped serpent, a genuine Loch Ness equivalent lurking right above the fault lines.
But the truly deceptive danger, the one that's claimed more victims in the lore, is the Niker, the water horse.
This is one of the most malevolent shapeshifters. It appears across Icelandic deep waters, and it sounds deceptively tame.
Right. It usually appears as this handsome gray horse just standing quietly by the water's edge, but there are crucial signs you have to know to survive.
The first warning is the hooves. They're reversed, they point backward, and they're uncloven.
He can also appear as a handsome young man to woo a woman, or even a cow, but it always keeps those reversed hooves. That's the one clue.
And once you mount it, the trap is sprung. The Niker's skin instantly becomes sticky, trapping the rider. Then it just gallops wildly into the deepest part of the lake and drowns its victim.
Legend even says that the eerie sound of ice breaking on the lakes in winter is actually the neighing of the trapped Niker.
The danger is immense, but this is where we find a fascinating cultural insight. The Niker has a surprisingly simple weakness.
Okay.
It hates to hear its name, Niker or Nenir, or any word that sounds like it.
That is the aha moment. If you put that in historical context, what does that tell us?
It seems to reflect the period of Christianization, the idea that the Christian era gave humans power over these pagan beasts through language. By invoking a certain word, you break the spell.
It's a marvelous loophole. And it saved the shepherd girl in the famous story. She was about to mount the horse, but then she just exclaimed, out of pure exasperation, "Ek neni eki up."
I don't feel like getting on its back.
And hearing the word neni, the creature panicked and fled back into the lake, defeated by a simple phrase of apathy.
Then you have the more obscure but lethally dangerous creature.
The Loki Salungur, the shaggy trout.
This one is truly bizarre. A trout-like fish covered in this fine, downy, cottony white hair or fur.
Which is supposedly only visible once the fish is dead and floating in the water.
And it's been branded a poisonous menace since the 17th century. Its toxicity is absolute. Eating it causes death.
The sources cite this really tragic 1692 incident where the entire population of Groof Farm was found dead around a pot containing a cooked shaggy trout.
So even after cleaning and cooking, it's still lethal. It's a chilling reminder that the bounty of the landscape, even a simple fish, can be deadly. It echoes the hidden geothermal dangers just beneath the surface of that very lake. And that contrast is how we experience Kleifarvatn today. It is still a raw, untamed spot, but it's actively sought out by modern visitors who understand its power.
It's a place of profound stillness. It's known as a dark sky paradise, a favorite for northern lights viewing because there's so little light pollution. The dark landscape just enhances the whole celestial experience.
And despite the ancient monsters, modern life goes on. Arctic char and brown trout thrive near the geothermal seepage, attracting anglers.
And even more uniquely, there are specialized scuba diving tours that take people right into the lake.
To explore the tectonic fissures and literally feel the warmth of the underwater geothermal vents where the plates are pulling apart.
But it's still a spot of minimal amenities. You have to be cautious, strong winds, rapidly changing weather, tricky winter roads. It all reinforces that oldest lesson of Icelandic life. The landscape is still absolutely in charge.
And that brings us full circle. We've talked about the hidden neighbors who promote caution and the monsters that embody danger. So we have to conclude this deep dive by referencing the foundational protective mythical figures, the four land wights, the land vater.
These protectors are fundamental to Icelandic identity. They're first mentioned in the 13th century Heimskringla saga when they were summoned to defend Iceland from an invasion plotted by King Harald Bluetooth of Denmark.
The saga says King Harald sent a wizard spy in the form of a whale to scout the island for vulnerabilities. But each time the spy approached a different part of the island, one of the four land wights appeared to repel him.
The dragon in the east, the eagle in the north, the bull in the west, and the giant in the south.
They succeeded. The invasion was foiled. They represent the ultimate elemental defenses of the nation itself.
And what's so important is that they're still incredibly visible today. They aren't confined to old books.
Not at all. They are central cultural pillars. They're featured prominently on Iceland's coat of arms and on the Icelandic krona coins, symbolizing the nation's enduring strength against external threats.
It's a powerful statement. We've traveled from the invisible hidden people who literally reroute roads, to the petrified trolls who teach respect for the clock, all the way to the geologically unique and monster-haunted Kleifarvatn Lake. We know the land whites stand guard on the coat of arms, defending the country from invasion.
But given the volatile, unpredictable geology, the constant movement of the plates, the seismic shifts that can drain a huge lake overnight and expose ancient secrets, the real danger isn't necessarily a foreign threat. It's the land itself.
So we'll leave you with this provocative thought. If the dragon, the eagle, the bull, and the giant stand guard against human invasion, which of Iceland's ancient spirits are truly protecting the island, and which are simply waiting for the earth to tear open again?